inside the child's head. The child has to bridge the gap between the learning and the teaching. My role as a teacher is a facilitator. I'm there to give them all the necessary skills to bridge this gap and not do the learning for them. Okay. They also say the reason why they say assessment of learning is so crucial is because normally children have been identified with having two types of mindset. Okay? One is the growth or the mastery mindset, and the other one is a fixed or a performance mindset. Right? And it's perfectly normal for children to have any of these mindsets. It's not A is better than other, or if I have that kind of mindset, I'm more clever. You can have any kind of mindset. Have a look and see if you can identify the children who have these types of mindset. I'm not going to talk, I just want you to see and understand if you can identify a child with these mindsets. Okay? And as you're reading this, some child's face will come up. Okay? You will think of somebody in your classroom who you think is like this. Have you ever come across children who fall in these two categories? Have you? Sometimes, maybe, or you never knew that these are the categories where we put them. What is your mindset? If you just read this, what is your mindset?
I've been part of both.
Part of both? Okay. Is there anybody who particularly belongs to a particular mindset here? And as I said, they're both normal, so don't think A is better than B, It's perfectly alright to have either of these mindsets. What a child with a fixed on a performance mindset believes that ability leads to success. I'm intelligent, I'm clever, I'm going to be successful. Okay? And what happens is that if or when this child is not able to succeed, then that child goes into a negative spiral and gets into a negative mindset, right? So they think, a child with this kind of mindset thinks either you have it or you don't. Black or white, plain. For children with this kind of mindset, a growth and a mastery mindset, is they think that to be successful, it is a combination of ability, but more importantly, the effort. The effort that you put into your work is what makes you successful. And also, intelligence is not a static thing. It keeps growing, right? And for these kind of children, learning is a process. And as you put in more effort, there are more chances of you to get successful. So which out of the two is a more positive mindset? If we were to just do a comparison, which is a more positive mindset? To have a growth or to have a fixed? Growth. And that is the mindset that assessment for learning promotes. If you have an assessment for learning culture in your classroom, it actually helps your children to have a growth mindset, which says that it's not ability, it's effort. So today if I couldn't do it, it's perfectly fine. Tomorrow, with right kind of strategies and with right kind of help from my teachers, I will be successful. These children don't go into a negative spiral of, saying that they get low self-esteem, no. So that's another thing why we need to buy into assessment for learning, because it promotes that kind of mindset. How do you do that? Now is the strategy thing, how do you do that in the classroom? How do you in a classroom will have a growth mindset? How will that look like? My first strategy is you can have something called a stuck board, and I'm going to show you those as an active samples in your classroom. And that stuck board, let's say like something like this, What its job is to help people know what to do when they don't know what to do. So there's something I don't know what to do, but that board will tell me what to do. And I'll show you how. Another way of promoting a growth mindset is when you have reciprocal learning. So you have an arrangement where children don't sit in isolation, but children are surrounded with their peers, and there's a lot of talk happening. So there's a lot of think, fair, share, lots of peer assessment. I'm going to show you what all that looks like. That also promotes that kind of mindset, being reflective, which is through self and peer assessment. I'll share all these strategies with you. This is one of the ways. That is your stuck board. Okay? There's nothing wrong with a child getting stuck. Okay? But staying stuck is a problem. Every child at some point of time will get stuck, but staying there is a huge problem. So let's say I'm going to read it out, and if you can, stuck on a word. So these are some of the strategies that I'm sharing on the board, right? That children, if you are stuck on a word, what can you do? You can actually look at the picture clues. You can say the sound of the word. You can think of a word that makes a similar sound, okay? Or you can just shout out that word. So what I'm doing is that if I am that child, my teacher has given me something to do, I don't know what to do, I will look at the stuck board. And that board will help me come out of that sticky situation that I am in. Another example, a board like this. What stuck with you today? Now here what we do is, you're doing a lesson, and you will, during the class, ask them, okay, that what is the thing that you found really challenging? What is it that you found really difficult? And then you give them post-its like this, okay? Or you give them some colorful paper, and on the board that you have in the classroom, children go and stick it up there. So when the lesson finishes, you as a teacher, you just go and see, oh, that's what they found very difficult. That is assessment for learning. I don't have to wait for 2 weeks to do a pen or paper test to find out what they are stuck at. I can do that every single day of my lesson. Okay? And no 2 days the board is going to look the same. Okay, so what comes in assessment for learning? What are the things that we do that we say are assessment for learning? Assessment for learning is about these things that we've highlighted in yellow. Okay? It's about sharing the learning intentions. It's about sharing success criteria with your children. It's about giving them formative feedback and peer and self-assessment. And inside in the ring, if you see, there's questioning, questioning, and more clever questioning. That is what is assessment for learning. I am going to share each of these with you, how it goes. Okay? Learning intention. How many of you share that in your classroom? How many of you share the learning intentions in your classroom? Okay, one.
I'm sure I understood the question.
How many, when you were teaching, would you share the learning intentions with the children? Yeah. Like we did in today's session, when I said what was our learning intention was to do this, this, this. What did that make you feel when I shared the learning intention? Focus. It gave you a purpose. You knew this is what's going to happen in the next 50 minutes. So sharing learning intention is nothing but telling the learner what is the new learning that they will get in that particular session. The new learning. Okay? Now, most of the time teachers come and ask me, do I have to do it every single lesson? Yeah? You are asking me to do it every single lesson? I'm like, yes. Because every single lesson is a new lesson. And every single lesson there will be some new learning. But the mantra here is what you really, really need to remember is learning intention is about what is the new learning that they will be getting. Not the old. The new learning that's happening in the classroom. Okay? I'll show you some samples of that. Success criteria. What does that mean? That tells you what good looks like. Okay? So, let's say I have a class, I have just taught them to write a letter. And they have written some beautiful letters for me, and when I'm marking them, I'm not happy. Right? So I write comments like, no, not good, you can do better, work hard, do this. With all these comments, I give the exercise books back to the children. Do you think they will be able to do what I want them to do? Why not? What's lacking in it? They don't know what to do. They don't know what good looks like. I am saying it's not good. You did not, but I'm not saying what does good look like. So sharing the success criteria tells the children what good looks like. Okay? I'm going to just skip and first show you. Here are some examples. Let's say it's a kindergarten class. Okay? Look at the age range. And your learning intention is very simple. We are learning to listen to each other. That's the new learning that is happening. Now that might happen for a long time because these are 5 years old we're talking about. Okay? Now, share with them how would the teacher know that it is happening. So the success criteria would be that look at the person who is speaking. Okay? Don't do anything else while they're speaking and think about what they are speaking. If you can meet any of these success criteria, I as a teacher would know that you are learning to listen to each other. Now again, teachers ask me this question, do I have to write it down all the time? How do we share the learning intentions and the success criteria? Is there a way? Is there a set way? You can do it either ways. You can just come and talk about it at the beginning of the lesson. But for young learners, I would always have a board where I just have learning intentions, success criteria put up there. Okay? And if it's a long learning intention, I will leave it there for a while. Because this will not be fulfilled in one day. Another example of learning intention. Okay? It's a primary class and the learning intention is we are learning to write a persuasive argument. I don't know if you've picked this up, but I'm using this we are learning to. Is there a reason behind it?
Yes, they have a, it gives them a big feeling of, oneness, that I am also, together with them.
The teacher is also saying we are, which means together with you, we are going to do this. So what we are going to do, we are going to write a persuasive argument. And how would we know, children, that we have been successful? If we can, when we are writing a piece of argument, if we can state the reason, if you can express your point of views, use paragraph, use facts, use emotive language. So when the child has this scaffolding in front of him, when the child is writing, they will go back to these types. Okay, have I done this? Have I done this? Have I done this? So what are you doing? You're throwing the responsibility back at the child. You are sharing the criteria, and this is going to help your children take, okay, fine, I know this is what I have to do. And before I pick up my books, I would say, please go back, look at the success criteria, and see if you've done that or not. So that's the responsibility. The onus lies on them. As a teacher, I have shared. I have given them the strategy. Something else which also happens a lot in primary school, little classrooms, is the want and the will. Okay? And the want stands for we are learning to, which are again your learning intentions. And what I am looking for as a teacher, that's the success criteria. So you have these posters up on your room, and all you have to do is keep writing new learning intentions and new success criteria. But remember why you're doing it. You're doing it because the focus shifts to the learner. Another example. This is something which I picked up from one of the KG classes. Okay, very simple. She had we are learning to, and again the remember is what is it that you have to remember when you're doing it. So let's say writing a recount. So this is all the things that you have to remember. So imagine that the child is sitting in the classroom, gets stuck. So there is something that the child can go back to and refer to improve on their piece of work. Okay, questioning. Something that we do all the time in the classroom, but what are some effective questioning strategies? Okay, how can we ask a better question? What kind of questions do you normally ask in your classroom? What kind of questions?
Something I frequently see when I visit classrooms is, you understand, right? So it could be yes.
Yes or no, which is what? Which is what? It's a closed-ended question. Any question which has the answer of a yes or a no is a closed-ended question. So the teacher is not allowing the child to think. The teacher already has in her head either it's a yes or a no. So what kind of a question is a good question? Open-ended. What is an open-ended question? Where there is, sorry, yeah?
Like, why did you do this?
Yeah. There's no right or wrong. Right? And what are you doing when you're asking a question, open-ended question? What are you trying to achieve as a teacher when you ask a child an open-ended question?
It makes the child critically think about
Think. That's the only thing. When you ask a child an open-ended question, they have to think, and not necessarily what the teacher wants to listen, but what they have to say. Okay?
I have tried to improve to the relation between the question I'm asking and what I wanted them to learn. But not to learn, the ability I wanted them to develop.
Yeah.
And it's so hard for me. Like, I wanted to develop this ability, and then sometimes I ask a different question that are not related.
Okay, so what is it, what are the problems that you're facing when you're trying to develop this skill?
They're not related, like the question and the answer I'm going to get.
Okay, fine. Let's just see. Let me show you something and then see if you can have, like, for example, look at this, okay? You can ask, if you ignore this, right, you can ask a simple question. What is the square of 5? So there always is only one answer, which is 25. Again, it's a closed-ended question. Instead of doing that, if you put these numbers like this, right, and then ask the question. So what do you think they have to do then in that case? They have to think. And also, what do you think this does? It again gives them a scaffolding, something to look at, something that they can rely upon, right? Now, look here. Same question, okay? Asked in a different way, in a higher order thinking way. I put these numbers, right? And then I say question. In a test, Sarah put 10 as the answer. How did she get this answer? Just look at this question very carefully.
She multiplied.
Sorry?
She multiplied.
She did 5 times 2. She did not do 5 times 5. So look at this. If I had just asked the first question, what is 5 squared? Somebody says 25, I move on to the next question. The rest of the class has no clue what is 5 squared. Okay? So, what is 5 squared? I give them a second layer of helping, which is I give them these numbers, and then I say that in a test, Sarah put 10 as the answer to 5 squared. Okay? So, how did she get this answer? They now have to think. How did she get to the answer? So the answer definitely is 5 times 2. Whereas square is 5 times 5. So that is something, how you ask. So this one strategy is called giving a range of answers. Rather than asking your question, give them a range of answers and then ask, something got this, why? That gets them thinking. Okay? Next one. Again, say what makes a good friend, and you give them a range of answers. And then ask them why. So as soon as you use the word why, they will have to think. Okay? Another way of asking a good question is you give them a statement. You don't ask a question, you give them a statement. So let's look at some examples, right? Focus on this column first. This is the first question. Which drugs are bad for you? If I ask this question, what kind of responses will I get? which drugs are bad for you? What kind of response?
They
What
will
will
say
it-
all of them.
They'll say all of them, or they'll come up with some one kind of a drug or another. I change my strategy. Okay? I give them a statement. All drugs are bad for you. Okay? Agree or disagree and give reason. So I'm asking the same question, but rather than asking a question, I'm giving them a statement. And the whole idea again is for them to think. Right or wrong? So, again, this is another way of asking a question. Instead of asking them, how do you do this sum? Whatever they're doing, you ask them, you tell them, why is this sum right and this sum wrong? So they again have to think and find out that why is it happening. For example, some other examples here could also be that why is this meal healthy and this one not? Rather than asking, what is a healthy meal? They'll give you the definition of a healthy meal. Right? You give them a choice. You give them, show them pictures of two kinds of meal, a burger or something else, and then say, no, which one is healthy? And please ask why. As soon as you use the word why, that gets children thinking. This is another clever questioning strategy starting from the end. Okay? I'm teaching metaphors in class, and I'm asking a very simple, close-ended question. Can you give me an example of a metaphor? Obviously, some child again is going to shout out and say, and the teacher moves on to the next question. The rest of the class don't know what is a metaphor. So what am I doing? I put a metaphor, I write a metaphor, and then I say, this is a metaphor. Tell me why. Why do you think this is a metaphor? Again, it gets them to think. I'm telling them this is a metaphor, but I'm not telling them why is this a metaphor.
Another question.
Yeah?
Could it be possible that one of the smart kids would answer?
I'm coming to that. I'm coming to that. Well, how do we stop that? So you see, I as a teacher, you are using a brilliant strategy. Isn't it? You really planned your lesson well, you have a good strategy with you, but the children have spoiled it because you have forgotten to do one thing, which I'm just showing you now. Okay. Another way is opposing standpoint. Show them two different points of views, okay, which is, for example, instead of asking what are the health of taking drugs, you can say, should taking drugs be a matter of choice? Now this is something that is, for your middle and higher level kids, where you can actually give them an opportunity of choice and reason. That's what you should do. For any questioning strategy to work, you have to give children what we call wait time, thinking time. And this is a culture that you as a teacher will set in your classroom. That when I ask a question, you have 10 minutes of wait time. And nobody is going to shout out the answer in those 10 minutes. So if you know the answer, you do not know the answer, you are not going to call out. And that's something that should be there in your classroom displayed somewhere. So you can say, okay, there you go. Remember, we discussed wait time. We are not going to call out. So that way, they don't shout out the answer. Okay? Another way, something which my class when I was teaching this level was, you ask the question and you tell them, okay, after 10 seconds, if you're ready to answer, show me. So that's their way of showing me. Arms folded, ready to answer. But nobody is going to call out the answer. So you have to have a wait time or a thinking time. How much is entirely up to you. 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 5 seconds, that's up to you. Okay? Another way, a questioning clown in your classroom, where it works really, really well for primary children, If you have a questioning clown, and if you want children to produce questions, rather than the teacher asking the questions, you need to ask children, okay, I've taught them something, and I'll say, okay, on this table, this table, this table, you can split them and you can say, fine, this table gets these two question words, I want you to make question words beginning with why and when. Other table could have this and this is a question word. You're going to make questions with would and could. You're going to make questions with who and what. And then you collect the responses and you see what lovely questions are going to come your way. So far, just press the pause button, go back. We've looked at learning intentions. So can anybody now go back and tell me, what is learning intentions? What are learning intentions? See, typically that is what's going to happen in your classroom as well. You won't get a response. Yeah.
That is the aim that we want to achieve.
Sorry?
That we want to achieve.
Not necessarily. It's not the aim that we want to achieve.
It's what can show whether the student has mastered what you want to teach.
Okay. It's what can show.
How you can observe it.
Okay. What you can observe it. Anybody else? Yeah.
What new stuff?
The new learning. Learning intention is sharing the new learning that is going to happen in the classroom. You can do it orally, you can do it in writing. If it's a long learning intention, put it up on the board. It stays like that for a week because it's going to take time for the new learning to happen. It's not going to happen in that particular lesson. Okay? Success criteria. What is success criteria? How do we do success criteria? What's the purpose?
Is to show them the right answer or where you want them to be and how you want them to
To
answer.
grow, okay. Success criteria, when you share success criteria, you're sharing the ingredients. You're sharing them what things do they need to focus on to meet the learning intentions. So if I want them to learn metaphors, that is my learning intention. We are learning to analyze metaphors, right? Success criteria, what is it that they need to focus on? They need to highlight. They should be able to give examples. Whatever you think as a teacher is the success criteria. And of course, we've looked at different kinds of questioning. Right, coming back then comes formative feedback. What is formative feedback? What is formative feedback? What does the word formative means here? We all know what is the feedback. But what is the formative feedback?
Constructive. No.
And then I'll ask you what's constructive. Do we as teachers ever give a destructive feedback?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah? Yeah? How? What does it look like?
This is wrong, this is bad, this
Okay.
is incorrect.
Okay. Yeah?
Organized, I would say.
Okay. Sorry?
Organized.
Formative is organized, is that what you're saying? Okay.
It gives the child information about what is right.
Uh-huh.
And this is how you should do it. That's
Uh-huh.
formative.
We're going back to the same thing. Formative is what? Formative means something which provides information. A feedback which gives your learners the information. Child, you are here and you need to come here and this is what you need to do to go from A to B. That is a formative feedback. I mark 60 books in a day and I think good, outstanding, well done, great work, superb, and I'm using all those different kind of this thing. But the child still doesn't know, okay, if I'm good, how do I become better? If I were not good, how do I become good? Because that feedback does not give any information. So what is a formative feedback? Formative feedback should evidence on where they are now. When you give child the feedback, you have to tell them, this is where you are now, okay? Your feedback should also have the desired goal. Where do you want the child to be, okay? And then, most important, and that's mind the gap. You remember mind the gap we were talking about? How to close the gap. Who will close the gap? The learner has to close the gap. But where will the input come from? The teacher. How to close the gap. And that's all about talking about a resourceful learner. A learner who can understand how can I bridge the gap. Okay, let's do a quick thing. We've been sitting for a long time. I need 2 volunteers. Can I have 2 volunteers? Please come. One more. Okay, thank you. Get your chair. Okay, let's
chair?
No, I just want one chair. Just one, yes? Okay. I want you to face that side. Okay? And what I want you to do is that you have to teach. So we have just a paper ball which Namrata has to throw and you have to catch. Okay? So, and she only has 3 chances. So, what do you think we should do? You give it to her. You give it to her. So she's your pupil. You are the teacher. You have to teach her that she has to throw the ball so you can catch it, and she only has 3 chances. Yeah? No, you move back. She doesn't know where you are. Okay? Yeah.
Just throw it right on the back of on some height on your left side.
Okay.
So it should go to up to 5 meters.
5 meters.
3 meters.
I'm quite bad at the meters, huh? I'll try anyway. Did it go? You have another chance. Okay, same way.
Yeah, same thing.
3 meters. Oh my God.
I got it.
Oh wow. Right. Hang on. Right. We do it again. Just stand here. Just stand here. Okay. Right. So Namrata, you have to throw the ball and I have to catch it. Okay? So just throw. Lady, you can do better than this. Okay? So come on, try again. Should I throw? Throw? I think you haven't had breakfast today. Okay? Come on, try again. Try again. Did you get it? So those were the 3 chances. She couldn't get it. What was I not doing right?
You're scary.
A, I'm intimidating. I'm raising my voice because she is not being able to do it. And I'm taking the responsibility on myself. I'm a bad teacher. She's not able to do it. Okay. Right. We'll start again. Okay? Namrata, you have to throw the ball and I'm standing 6 steps behind you, right behind you. Right. I can do a little bit fast. Next time when you throw the ball, just make sure that you don't put too much force on it. I'm still 6 steps behind you and you have to throw the ball. Okay, well tried, but I think we need a little bit more push, not too fast. Okay, but it was a good aim. It was a good aim. What did I do different this time?
You taught her how to do it.
I gave her a formative feedback.
And encouraging.
Sorry?
And encouraging.
And encouraging. Right? There was a right dose of encouragement here, not too sweet, not too intimidating, and I was helping her, thank you very much. I was helping her to understand, going back to here again, this particular slide, if the child is here, you want them to go to a certain point, my role as a teacher is to give that formative feedback. And don't take a child's failure as your own personal failure. Because I was getting very agitated because she could not do it. But I was not doing the right thing. I wasn't supporting her. I wasn't giving her the right feedback. Okay, so when is feedback unhelpful? When is feedback not a good feedback? So even if you are giving a feedback, when is it just not good?
It's not helping you meet your
When?
criteria.
When? So when is that?
When it doesn't show you how to do it correctly.
Okay, when it doesn't show you how to do it correctly. Okay. So how would you phrase it?
It's vague.
Sorry?
It's vague. It's not good.
Okay, lovely. When it is vague. Okay. What else? When is your feedback not helpful to the child? So you're saying it, but you're not expressing yourself clearly, so that's vague. Okay, what else?
It's negatively constructed.
Okay, it's negative. The tone of the feedback is negative.
you're not showing them areas of improvement.
And you're not showing them what you said, what good looks like. You're giving a feedback, but you're not showing them what good looks like. So pretty much the same. Sometimes we go overboard with being well done. Okay? Oh, this was wonderful. So we're just a bit too kind. That's also not good. Okay? There has to be a rationale. There has to be a balance in it. Okay? And as what she said, if it's too vague, what I was doing, too critical. Just being negative, what you're saying, you know, that's also not helpful. Too excessive. Some teachers, they go overboard writing a feedback which is bigger than the actual answer that the child has actually written. It's like, you know, it's not helpful, it's not going to work. Okay? Right. And if it is too late, and your once in 15-day feedback is too late. It has to be instant. It has to be now, right? Okay, so now we're coming to the last part. Now we come to self-evaluation, the last part of assessment for learning, which is peer self-assessment and self-evaluation, okay? And I'm going to share now with you how to do this, right? So, when your lesson finishes and you have good 5 minutes left, you know, before you go for your next lesson, it is very important for you to let children evaluate the lesson. And how do you say? You can ask them questions like, what did you find difficult in today's lesson? What did you enjoy the most? What is it that you would like to find out more about? What do you think you need help with? Or what still is a puzzle for you? When you let children answer these questions, what do you think you are going to benefit from it? You plan your lesson. These answers will tell you how well the lesson went. You don't have to have a pen on paper exercise. So this is assessment for learning because you are going to use this to modify your next lesson. Okay? Some more examples. You can have these prompts, you can write, you can print them, you can put them in the classroom everywhere. So these prompts are there. Okay? Same thing, what did you find easy, what do you need help with, what is it that you can do now that you could not do before? Okay? What really made you think in this lesson? What are you most pleased with? And the most important thing that you learned today. So again, some of the prompts, you know, you can change it in as many different ways as possible, but the important thing is make it visible for children. Okay? Either by displaying it or by doing it. And that's the reason why it's important to make it visible. So just for you to read. Yeah? Do you agree with it? And I think the you here is not just the teacher. Children also need to see the learning happening. It's important for me as a teacher, but it's even more important for children to see that learning is happening. This is another way of self-evaluation, a very, very nice way. You just put this up, okay, and this is child doing your own self-evaluation. So 2-star and a wish means 2 things that were good about the work, and a wish is what is one thing that I would like to improve in my work. So the child writes, this is what I think about my work. And then the child also says, my teacher thinks. And it's very important when you look at those evaluations, you will see, oh my God, this child knows this is where he or she is, and this is where you want to go. So again, self-evaluation strategy. Some more visible learning strategies of self-evaluation, that's what we call the traffic lights. Okay? And traffic light is the most simplest, the easiest way of assessment for learning. Okay? You can have these things put up in a classroom. You can have the green says, I understand what I'm learning. The amber is, I understand some of it, but I'm not sure. And the red is, I don't understand. At the end of the lesson, very quickly, 2 minutes, ask children to go and stand by the traffic light that they think is best for this particular lesson. It just takes 2 minutes. And just by looking at these, you would know how the lesson went. Yeah? That's assessment for learning. No pen on paper doesn't need 2 weeks. It can happen there and then, right? Same. What you can also do is either get them cut out as circles, put them on each table, and at the end of the lesson ask children to pick up a circle. So just by looking across the class how many reds I have, how many greens I have, if you've taught something and everybody's picked up the red circle, what does that mean? I need to revisit this lesson. It didn't go well. Okay? That's again one of the easiest assessment for learning strategy. A thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs sideways. Okay? So, at the end of the lesson, if you can just ask children, to a thumbs up if you think some new learning happened and we met the learning intention, thumbs down if you think, no, I didn't understand, and sideways, I know, but I'm not sure. A very quick way, very visible way for both you and the learner to see where the learning is going. But remember, when you start doing these things, you have to train your children. You have to share the strategy with them. Okay, you have to tell them that this is what we are going to do. So initially they'll be a little bit shy. They are going to feel awkward. They're going to look at each other. Oh, my friend's thumb is like this, so mine also should be like this. But eventually, if you keep doing it, if it's a routine in your classroom, then they will understand that this is assessment of my own learning. And I don't have to look at what my friend has. Okay? This works very well for middle school, senior school, if you're teaching that level, where you let children mark self or peer assessment. They mark their own work. And you give them the model answers, and then they mark their work, and then they find out where are the gaps in my learning. Okay? But that's for senior children. But again, saying that, let me just show you. This is a class 5 child of my own school, and that's an example of a peer assessment that they've done. So after they finish the work, rather than me as a teacher taking all this back home and doing it, in my own time, what I do is we swap the work. Okay? I put the model answer up on the board, and then they look, and then they mark. And then look, she's written a comment as well. You should have done making 100. That's the comment that the child has put for the work that he or she was marked. And I don't have to take this work home. It's happened in the classroom. And that is assessment for learning, which helps both the learner and the teacher to know where they are and where they need to go. As I said, thumbs up, I shared that with you. Some people also do these traffic lollipops, same thing, black, you just put the different colors, put them on each table, and they pick it up, and then they can show you how it's going. Okay? KWL. KWL is something which stands for, K stands for knowledge, and W is what we want to learn. And this is what I started with when I started your session. Is I wanted to know how much you already know. Because in your curriculum, you will see that there are so many areas where you're just repeating the same thing over and over again. So rather than treating your children as, oh, they don't know anything and I have to teach all, do a KWL. Find out what is it that they already know and what is it that they would like.
And before we disperse, we have a small end of day reflection session. It will be a very small, like a 25-30 minute activity. So I want all of you to describe the entire day in one word, one adjective or anything, one word. So think about it, like I'll give you 30 seconds, think about it, and then I'll ask you. I want all of you to describe the entire day in one word. Thank you. We'll start with
Innovative ideas.
innovative ideas.
Togetherness.
Togetherness. Yes.
Sharing.
Sharing.
Fantastic.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Insightful.
Insightful.
Eye-opening.
Eye-opening.
Team learning.
Team learning. From that last question.
Passion.
Passion. So can we have some more answers? Yeah.
Interesting.
tired. Delhi, we know that it's been a long day, but we'll try to take a few minutes to help you understand the day. Okay, because a lot of research and surveys suggest that if you kind of sit down and think about what has happened throughout the day, you kind of retain more. So I'll give you like 2 to 3 minutes to think about all these 3 sessions which you've attended, or the 2 sessions, or this single session, whatever may be the case. I'll give you some time to think about it, and then after 3 minutes we'll come back in your small groups, we'll discuss those ideas. Okay. After that, what will happen is, I will place these start papers. So it has system, classroom, school and Delhi. So go to the chart paper you connect to the most and write about your sense of possibility. Okay, what did you take away from the day? What is your takeaway? And write about it. You can draw, scribble, doodle, whatever you want. Okay, I'll be placing these chart papers in 4 corners of the room. You can just go ahead and do whatever you want. After that, what we'll do is, we'll have a gallery walk where everyone can walk and see all the chart papers. If you like something, there will be these stickers. You can give that idea a star. Okay? So we'll do all of that, but before that, I want all of you to think about what has happened. I know it has been a hectic day, and all of us are really tired. We want to go back, but I still want you to sit down and think for these 2 minutes.
I really enjoyed it. I ended up there by accident, but I really enjoyed it. Yeah, I know, surprise. I think one takeaway from that for me was she kind of did a model lesson at the beginning. She kind of threw us into this model storytelling and value. And one big
Now, I think we can come back, and now I want you to go to the chart connect to, we have system, Delhi, classroom and school. So go to one of these chart papers, draw a pictorial representation. There are
you can write anything, you can draw anything. What you
draw
going to do,
come back and sit down. Take 2 minutes. Can we have all of you back facing? Okay, so now I want you all to share what the biggest takeaway, your biggest takeaway from Inspire at Day 1. If you feel you're ready, just go ahead. Yeah.
What I take back is that it's all about children, and we have to create a very, very joyful environment for children, for them to learn in the best possible way, and we have to be in our best, so that so that the children can, we can give children 100%, so that they are able to get everything.
Yeah. If you like something, it's not.
Yeah, if you like something here in Australia, we start.
Please do it.
Okay, can we have a few more large group sharing reflections and then we disperse?
I have to say that the most inspirational thing to me, personally, this whole day was not so much whatever happened in the classrooms. I really enjoyed interacting with all the kids. And I think that this is more convincing as to the success of what we're doing and how far we can get than any sort of scripted session that I could plan and attend. So I'm very grateful for the social.
Now we'll take 2 more reflections and then, yes.
I was in a session where it was said that children are not very good at listening, but they're the best by imitating adults. And then the next session, the teacher who did the session was just wonderful. So I feel like imitating her. And so it was so connected, and that was amazing.
One more, and then,
I want to say one thing.
yeah.
That we have 3 TFIs in our school. So they do like this and this, but we didn't know the meaning of these things. So then we have come to know the meaning of these symbols.
Okay, thank you so much for coming to Inspire at Day 1. We hope to see you tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Would you like to say anything?
All of them were great, but I still like the kids.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay. So these feedbacks to guide you. Speakers. Yeah. Bye. हाँ this is good यार
Second is good, we'll keep the second from tomorrow.
हाँ हाँ pull the chairs behind nothing much to do just aim for it okay I hope that we are leaving feedback
अरे तुम
impact I have to hand it over to impact
impact is Ashwati.
Ashwati? Okay, हाँ. So these feedback forms you're going to take it with whom? Switch off.
Everything is set up. Ashwati, please bring your laptop.